Hi everyone and welcome to ARK TV. The topic we're going to cover today is self-managed super funds and direct residential property. Now, late in 2007, the legislation was changed in the SIS Act, which effectively allows you now to borrow in your super to buy direct residential property. With this, it creates an abundance of opportunity, but coupled with this opportunity is obviously the risks that come with it. So what I want to do today in this short video is take you through the benefits of this strategy and how it works, but also what are the risks and what are the things you need to look out for. Now, there are many benefits of owning a self-managed super fund, most of which I will cover off in a separate video. Today, I'm just going to touch on a couple of the key benefits of buying property in your self-managed super fund. The first one is tax. Now, if you buy a property outside of super and it grows, you'll pay capital gains tax. Now, within the super environment, you'll also pay capital gains tax, but it'll be at a lesser rate. Now, for example, that is, if you hold it for longer than 12 months and you're less than 60, it's 10%. If you're over 60 and retired, it's potentially capital gains tax free. The second major benefit is the ability to leverage. Now, you could always buy a property in your self-managed super fund, but if you wanted to buy a $400,000 property, you had to put $400,000 cash in there. So not the best outcome. What this new legislation allows you to do is borrow up to 70%, which gives you a bigger asset base to work with, which allows you to benefit from the less volatile asset, which is direct residential property. A third benefit of this strategy is it allows you to diversify. Now, like I said before, if you wanted to buy a property, you had to put a huge lump sum in, say $400,000, which wouldn't leave you much in your super. By enabling you to put down a smaller deposit and borrowing, it leaves you some money which you can use to invest in shares, cash, fixed interest, or any other investment that you want to use in your self-managed super fund. So how does it work? Well, you have your self-managed super fund, and just like buying a normal property, you put down a deposit. In this case, the minimum is 30%. Then you need to get your loan. Now, this isn't a typical residential loan, it's what they call a non-recourse loan. What that means is if for some reason you can't make your interest payments, you being the self-managed super fund, the bank will come after your asset, but they will not come after you or your self-managed super fund assets. Now, it's really important to get this right because if you get it wrong, the consequences can be quite severe. So, the bank have it approved and they give you the other 70%, which goes into the property. Now, the third major difference is it doesn't actually sit directly in the property. It sits in what's called a bare trust. Now, the reason why it sits in a bare trust is because the loan cannot actually sit within the self-managed super fund. Okay? The bare trust legally owns the property, but beneficially, what that means is all rent, all depreciation benefits go back to the self-managed super fund. And likewise, the self-managed super fund is responsible for all interest payments and any associated property expenses like strata and council rates. Now, it is really important that you get this structure right. When these first came out, there was a lot of structures that were non-complying, which basically means that you can lose up to half of your fund. So if you've got $400,000, that's $200,000 from this structure being incorrect. So you need to structure it to make sure that you get it right and it's the most efficient one for you. So what are the risks? I've spoken to you briefly today about the benefits and how the mechanics of it work. But with this opportunity, there also comes an element of risk. Now, the first major risk is around the illiquidity of property as an asset. What I mean by that is you can't have your whole super fund being held in one investment asset. Why? Because what happens if something happens to you and you need to draw down the money? It's in a property, so it's pretty hard to sell. What happens if you reach pension phase and you need to draw an income stream? Once again, it is very hard to sell. The second risk, and this is where we've seen a lot of people fall down, is around the complexity of the structure. Now, although it sounds simple at a high level, buying property in super, there's actually a lot of detail that sits below legally that needs to be completed. The penalties for getting it wrong are quite severe. You can actually lose up to half of your fund if you get this wrong. So what I would recommend is before you do anything, sit down with a qualified advisor and look at, is this strategy appropriate for you? What are the benefits for you? And more importantly, what are the risks and how can we go about mitigating them to ensure this strategy can help you along your wealth creation path?